I'm so proud, honestly, I'm so proud. It's remarkable. And there'll be Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, Spurs fans, United fans, City, all of them waiting for us to get battered last night, waiting, right? And it didn't happen. We battered them.
I wouldn't shout about the Conference League. I'll be shouting from the rooftops about this competition.
Everyone talks about Luis Enrique, and rightly so, in PSG. They are a brilliant team, right? Kvaratskhelia, didn't see him. Dembele, didn't see him. Adui, didn't see him. The structure of the team, all over, he got everything right.
Conference League doesn't do it. That competition is not worth people talking about Cole Palmer being a superstar. Playing in the Champions League is. Playing in those finals last night is. He's definitely got the talent to go and, I think, hit another level.
Those balls from Sanchez at the back, it's the best I've seen him with the ball at his feet.
He did try a couple of times towards the end of the game to try and give him a goal, though, didn't he? Fair play to the owners and the manager for identifying these two players. Great bits of business, I think, on both of them. And let's see where it goes.
Are we better than Liverpool? No. Can we challenge them? I'd like to think we have to make a go.
Hello and welcome to Inside Chelsea, the show for Chelsea fans by Chelsea fans. I'm Joe Flemons and I'm joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy and former Chelsea midfielder and assistant manager Jody Morris. Boys, let's not hang about any longer. World champions again. What a morning, Jason Cundy. How are you feeling, pal?
Boys, I am so smug. I'm going to be unbearable, right? World champ is the first. I know there's been the Club World Cup before, but not in this form. To come away with the trophy, I have to say I did not think at any point we would get as far as we did and do as well as we did. I'm so proud, honestly. I'm so proud. It's remarkable. And there'll be Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, Spurs fans, United fans, City, all of them waiting for us to get battered last night, waiting, right? And it didn't happen. We battered them. Honestly, I'm so proud of what I witnessed last night. It's remarkable. And it's Chelsea. We're underdogs in a final. Don't underestimate Chelsea in the final.
I can't for a second imagine you being unbearable, mate.
I will be unbearable, trust me. Trust me, can't wait. Can't wait.
Jody, like Jason said, Chelsea in finals, it's got that feel about it going into it. I don't know if many Chelsea fans were feeling that confident because we've seen how good PSG are, Champions League winners. They did it in such style as well. But the performance last night, to lift the trophy at the end of it, but that's a statement performance and a statement result, right?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I second everything that Jason said, but actually going into it, being brutally honest, I thought we'd do well to keep it at, like, maybe losing by 2. You always think that because it's us and because it's a final that we've managed to get over the line so many times in games where we've been by far the inferior team, let's say, and managed to get over the line. But last night, even from the first sort of 2 or 3 minutes, I thought, there's a little bit of a difference to this. And the performance, I know we was just saying it off air, but I don't remember a performance against such a good team like PSG, who for me are the best team in the world. A performance in where we dominate such a great team and allowed all our players to flourish and look. I mean, we looked assured at the back. We looked brilliant defensively high up the pitch. The press was outstanding. The midfield was compact and nullified all their problems. And our talented boys came to the fore. When you're talking about Cole Palmer, who's an absolute superstar, and I was actually talking with Rory Jennings last night about it, and saying about Cole Palmer just performing on this stage, which we've seen him do already in finals, but performing on this stage in a global market like America, I'm sure that performance last night would have just elevated him to another level, which we all know he's capable of. But as a whole, you can't do anything but praise. I don't want to hear any of this, PSG were off it and blah, blah, blah. You've got to praise the manager first and foremost for the team that he picked and the setup in which he chucked out there. But for the players to carry out the tactics in which they did and perform at that level and produce at the pinnacle of again, a final, you can't be nothing else like what Jay said. He's proud of the football club, the manager and his staff and all the players. Unbelievable performance.
You mentioned the tactics there. Let's start with that because before kick-off, the big talking point was, well, there were 2. João Pedro being one, I'm sure we'll come on to him, but Reece James in midfield. We've seen this a few times. We've seen, I suppose, to differing levels because you see Reece has played in that holding midfield role throughout his career. He played it at Wigan years ago. I'm sure he's played it under you, Jody, coming through the academy as well. We've seen that this season quite a lot. On his day, Reece James is the best right-back in the world. I mean, he's got absolutely everything, complete package. He's such a good footballer that when you see him play midfield, I think some fans go, are we going to get the best out of him? I thought last night he was superb. Kept the team
and I'm one of
silent.
those. I'm one of those. I think there is something about Reece in midfield. It's how you see the game against Fulham. You give the ball away. He is and he can invert. We've seen him do that. The problem you've got with Reece playing in midfield is where's Lavia play when he's fit? Where does Enzo play? So further up the pitch, you then got to make changes. That's why Cole was up on the right. So there's a conundrum to sort out. What we saw last night with Gusto didn't invert. Those two boys sat. Gusto was an overlap, a bit like we were last season under Poch. He was an overlapping right back. He offered width and he kept Mendes there. And that, Hakimi, we'll talk about that in a second. Hakimi and Mendes, right? Those boys love to bomb on. They're almost like wing backs. The width of the pitch, we exposed that space that they left. But Reece and Caicedo in there, disciplined. We'll talk the yellow card for Caicedo. I was disappointed that he's booted the ball away. It wasn't a foul, but you can't do that. But those two boys in there, they sat. A couple of times Reece comes out. Caicedo was one that sat deep. But the structure of the team, all over, he got everything right. And tactically, last night, Maresca deserves so much credit because everyone talks about Luis Enrique, and rightly so in PSG. They are a brilliant team, right? Kvaratskhelia, didn't see him. Dembele, didn't see him. Edoui, didn't see him. Even when Bacola come on, didn't see him. We nullified their strengths. But also in the middle of the park, Vitinha couldn't get on the ball. You know, that rotation they have of the three brilliant midfielders. Tactically, I think that's the best. No, I don't think, I know it's the best I've seen Maresca perform. And those boys absolutely bought into it. And we saw that performance. And thoroughly deserved, by the way. Thoroughly deserved.
I did think this as well, Jody. I was going to mention this to you both because you've been in a position where, in an opposition dugout, you've got to try and work out what teams are doing. If you've watched Chelsea enough this season, you would have presumed that you'd have seen Malo Gusto inverting. You'd have presumed that Cucurella might have done it the opposite side. So the fact to add a different dimension to that completely, is that maybe why we saw a little bit of, I don't want to say sort of deer in the headlights because they're the best team in the world, second best team in the world, but PSG didn't quite have the answer to Malo Gusto being able to do that and attack down the right side.
And in fairness, I know that we all like to talk about and we use the word inverted fullbacks all the time, but there have been plenty of times where you have seen Gusto being the one holding the width, and you've got Cucurella that comes in next to the two centre halves, and then you've got Pedro holding the width on the other side. So it almost looks like a three at the back with the two wing backs which go high. And Jace is right. The fact that you've got Gusto that goes and engages with Mendes, you've got Mendes that then don't want to go in with Cole Palmer. But the fact that we had the two midfielders, the two pivots, if you like, and Enzo all engaging their three midfielders, the fact that Cole, you see him at times dropping deeper than some of the midfielders to get on the ball. I was so surprised that PSG didn't adjust and try and stop the problems that we was giving them down our right-hand side, because it was a problem for them from minute one to the end of the game. But that's, again, credit to the manager for doing that. I'm with Jace. I'm not a massive fan of seeing Reece go in midfield. And it came off beautifully last night. But not just, I think, off the ball where we were trying to stop them playing. The fact that we had another midfielder that wouldn't really go running about and go all over the place and just stayed in there allowed the huge pockets, because the fact that PSG do want to press high and they do want to get after the ball, the actual pockets, if we do bypass those three higher up the pitch, become bigger and bigger. And I think the distribution from the goalkeeper and the defenders deserve huge credit as well, because we've seen so many times that PSG have nullified people trying to play out from the back. But the setup and the structure in which we was building from the back just caught them out time and time again. And like I said, credit to the manager for playing in that way and believing that we could bypass probably the best pressing team in the world at the moment. But then the players to carry it out, nothing but huge credit on both sides.
Yeah, Sanchez, those long balls, and Trev played a couple to bypass that. But it did feel, and I agree with you, How could they not see how much space there was? There were chasms, and every time on that right-hand side, the first 2 goals come down that same side. They're almost like, not identical, but very similarly created. How he didn't adjust, but I just wonder whether there was a little bit of arrogance from them. Here's who we are, here's how we play, we're the best side, and we've rolled teams over at will. But there was a point in that first half at 2-0 I'm thinking, this can't carry on. And it did. And we took advantage, taking chances. I've seen Chelsea dominate games. I've seen us create chances. I've not seen us take them. It's come back to bite us on the backside. Last night, we took our chances and we absolutely destroyed them, carved them open at times. And you're right, those balls from the Sanchez at the back, it's the best I've seen him with the ball at his feet.
I thought he was exceptional last night. I genuinely did. He made a really important save. I think it was it a 3-0 start the second half? There's a little flick header in front.
There's one down to his left.
That one's really
one
important.
One to his right, a couple to his right. It's one of his best performances, and I think the fact that he goes long helps him out as a goalkeeper because I don't think he likes playing these. You know, you got midfielders showing. Jody know better than me, but when you come in showing, you've got your back to play and he's playing the bounce ball. I don't think he really feels comfortable doing it or believes it's the right thing to do. He's much happier going long. But his range of passing last night was...
Yeah, I mean, he did try a couple of times towards the end of the game to try and give him a goal, though, didn't he? when he hung on to the ball a little bit too long,
yes, he did.
Like towards the end of the game. You know, he's going steady, don't get too comfy.
Don't get caught.
But as far as even, you know, what I liked about him as well is that there was a couple of crosses that came in towards, I think it was like 75th, 80th minute, and they were definitely crosses that you usually see goalkeepers come and punch, and he caught them. Come out, just caught them, nullified the problem, and yeah, it was an accomplished performance from him, which obviously isn't something that we've said a lot this season.
There is still going to be question marks over whether he is Chelsea's number one going into next season, right? Because that's all the paper talk has been talking about. There was talk of the AC Milan goalkeeper that Chelsea are interested in. There's talk of Barcelona into Stegens available, and there are other keepers on the market I'm sure that Chelsea will be looking at if they are indeed looking for a goalkeeper. Do you still think that's an area that Chelsea need to improve on?
Yeah, like without a doubt. I think if you want to get to the next level and where we're hoping to be at, because it's one thing winning these tournaments at the end of the season, but the bread and butter being in the Premier League and challenging is where we want to be going for. And I think the fact that we've gone for a keeper before this tournament even started shows you that we are trying to improve in that area, or maybe reinforce in that area. I know we've got a load of goalkeepers that everybody likes to talk about, but yeah, I do think that if we want to get to the next level, or it seems that we're still looking at maybe improving in the goalkeeper area. There
is talk that Mike Penders, the young Belgian goalkeeper, a lot of people obviously quite lazily, I suppose, are immediately comparing him to Thibaut Courtois, but there's apparently a lot of hype about him, a lot of excitement about him as a goalkeeper. Is there a little bit of forward planning that you don't want to stunt his development? You think Robert Sanchez is the goalkeeper for the next couple of years, and then you've got Penders that comes in, Philip Jorgensen's done well.
It's a long time to wait. Penders is 1920.
If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Well, I think the goalkeeping area, I think that conversation, I think, is different from being a young player where you've got players around you that can perhaps your mistakes. You've got a centre half that can nullify some of your mistakes or cover for you. The goalkeeper, you're on your own. You know, you make a mistake more often than not, either presents an opportunity or they score from it. I'm not convinced that Penders is the answer right now, although a lot of people say how good he is. I'm with Jody on this one. I think that if we are seriously going to be a side that can challenge and continue to win major honours, the fact we are in for that, Michael, I think tells you all you need to know. And it went quiet, it's gone. I don't know whether they're going to go back in January. He's got a year left in his contract. It might still happen. Maybe they just thought, right, from now on, let's see where we go in the Club World Cup. We've won that. The window's still open. There's plenty of time for this window to be open. But I genuinely feel that is an area, there's one area we need to concentrate on and get it right for us to be even better again than we saw this tournament. It's going to be the goalkeeper.
Yeah. We're going to come on to it a little bit later on and discuss how the ceiling, I suppose, has changed a little bit for Chelsea fans and hopes for next season. The one thing that we are all absolutely certain about is that wherever Cole Palmer plays, he's a problem. He was absolutely superb again last night. And again, Jody, he's another one that Chelsea fans, when they've seen him play on the right a couple of times, a little bit of hesitation, a little bit like, I want to see him centrally, I want to get him on the ball as much as possible. With that left foot, with that freedom to just drift a little bit and almost play. He's almost like a right-hand side number 10, wasn't he? There was rarity that you saw him proper heels on a touchline like a winger, but how good was he last night?
Well, I think when you've got a player of the level of Cole Palmer, I think you've got to, one, just get him in the team. So however you think the best structure is, or to maybe nullify the opposition, he plays no matter what. He's our superstar. But I also think he's one of those that he needs a little bit of freedom for him to express himself. And I think the best players are the ones that, if they haven't had many touches of the ball, I think when people want to aim any sort of digs at Cole throughout the season, it will be because he's been quiet in games. Now, I think he needs a bit of freedom sometimes again. If you ain't getting your touches, go and get on the ball wherever it is. Listen, when the ball changes hands, you need to make sure that we're in a structure to stop the opposition playing. But when you're that good, you just need to go and get on the ball, and it doesn't matter where it is. Like I said, there was times last night he was dropping deep in the midfield. But when you're allowed to turn and then, like Cundy said upstairs, it's like when you carry the ball for the third goal, 20, 30 yards, and then you can find a pass like that with a perfect weight. It doesn't matter where he plays. If it's on the right, we see what he done on the right-hand side in the Conference League final. He took it upon himself to go and, right, I'm going to make something happen. Yeah. There's few players that can do that. We was lucky enough to have probably the best that ever doing that in Eden Hazard. Cole Palmer's in that same bracket. So wherever it is, whether it's on the right, he knows he's got to do a job. And by the way, last night, there's sometimes you can maybe say Cole hasn't been great off the ball defensively, but last night he was excellent defensively. The amount of times he was blocking passing lanes, when there was a turnover, he was in perfect positions to then hurt the opposition straight away. For me, he's a superstar already, but I still think that the fact that we're going to be playing in the Champions League, the fact that I think we're going to be an improved Chelsea next season and hopefully challenging, or at least putting more pressure higher up the table, I think he's got another level to go to, because I think you need to play in the Champions League for you to be considered the next level. Conference League doesn't do it. That competition is not worth people talking about Cole Palmer being a superstar. Playing in the Champions League is. Playing in those finals last night is. And he's definitely got the talent to go and, I think, hit another level.
Let me ask you this, Joe. The fact that we had fullbacks that were supportive in the wide areas, when he plays on the right, normally the fullback comes inside and we're centrally, it's very busy in there. The fact that he had that width, the João Pedro run that opened the space up for his second goal, I think it was. How important is it, do you think, that we need the fullbacks to give us the width? Because he's the only width is him. If no one's overlapping, becoming a bit predictable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you think?
But and also it's like I've always said that you can go both sides. I think both fullbacks are able to do it. Obviously, the fact that Cucurella stays behind the ball, but what's important about that when he comes off the line and you've got Gusto high is that we have two midfielders that are not going anywhere defensively. So if the ball does turn over, the fact that Gusto's high and wide, we're not as open because you've got Reece on the right-hand side or Caicedo staying behind the ball where you're going. If the ball does turn over, we can nullify counter-attacks just as well as if we had a fullback that was in that position. Is
it important then as well to have someone that plays in the 10 a little bit more defensive-minded as well? Because when Enzo plays in there, he's got that sort of late run into the box. I know Frank Lampard obviously famous for, but Frank said that about Enzo, didn't he? About that's something that he can improve on, and he's certainly done it this season with his goal and assist return. But do you need someone that's not going to sort of clog up that area for Cole Palmer? Because last thing you want is players running into each other in traffic. And I think using the word 10 for Enzo Fernandez is a little bit loose anyway, because I think that there's not many times that you see him play with his back to play. He'd maybe vacate an area to maybe move some of their midfielders so that a Cole Palmer can come in there. He's not necessarily playing in there to affect the game with his back to play and get on it and turn and do stuff. I think he's in there to maybe vacate, which then opens up bigger pockets. And like we said before, that just kept happening over and over again. But for me, I think if you're good players, you can go and play in different positions and be effective. And I think Enzo done that as far as
on the ball where you can like occupy places, but I also think that the defensive side of it is easy to look back at that last night and go, oh, that's brilliant, we can play Enzo in there. That won't work against other teams that are going to maybe bypass us, and you don't want Enzo with his back to play. But as far as the tactical side of things last night, it worked a dream.
We've seen it throughout Chelsea's history. Special players that can turn games on, sort of blink of an eye. Eden Hazard's already been mentioned, Gianfranco Zola, Pat Nevin, Charlie Cook, all these special players that we've had come through the years. Is it important then, when we've got a player like that and we have such a special player in Cole Palmer, to persist with that balance? And it maybe means that Reece has to play inside a little bit more, or someone more defensive-minded plays alongside Moises Caicedo to cover that space, so Cole Palmer can be a little bit freer.
I think it's horses for courses. We're up against the best side in the world. I mean, there were the other fires that had to be put out or certainly deal with to allow Cole to be Cole. And Jody made a great point about Cole off the ball last night, and Pedro, by the way. Hakimi, him tracking Hakimi, Cucurella coming inside. Sometimes we're a 5 at the back because Neto's got to get himself in there, making sure that Hakimi can't have that with. Cole was doing that as well. But all over the pitch, how can we get our best players in the best positions on the ball, right? And last night, we got it right. Cole Palmer's our best player. He's the most influential player. He's the player. He's a special boy, right? Makes things happen out of nothing. We saw that. All 3 goals. But there are other things you've got to deal with to make that happen. You can't just concentrate on how can we get Cole on the ball. How can we stop? Here's what we've got to do. Defensively, we've got to be solid. The midfield too, disciplined, stopping them getting on the ball. And then, I felt we set traps last night. The fact that Sanchez kept putting that ball over the top, and Cole Palmer getting on the half turn. But you're right, he's the difference maker. He's our Gianfranco, he's our Hazard right now. He can win a game on his own, but it's the structure around that. It's not necessarily just for him, but we've got to deal with the rest of the team. And last night, we got it absolutely right.
But you're right about I know you said horses for courses, but it's like we can only play like that last night because we're playing against PSG.
Yes.
And the way that PSG press high and leave huge gaps.
Palace won't do that first game of the season.
You won't stick Cole Palmer out on the right when we're playing against a team that are going to park the bus. No chance. You want somebody else out there, and you want him inside. We want as many attacking players. But last night, the reason there's big, massive pockets is the fact that PSG want to get after us. 80% of the teams we're going to play next year in the Premier League won't be getting after us like that.
The one thing as well that I know Chelsea fans online got very excited about last night was that link-up play between him and João Pedro. Obviously, the goal we're going to talk about, but more so, I think it's 3 or 4 minutes in when Cole Palmer hits the stanchion and half the ground think it's in.
Yeah. Should hit the target, by the way. No, honestly.
What a move.
It's a brilliant, but should hit the target.
Yeah. I thought he was in as well.
Yeah, it's the stanch, you think.
Yeah.
But Chelsea have always, again, I keep going back to it, but you think when Olivier Giroud and Eden Hazard had that sort of almost like subliminal connection where it'd go into Giroud, the little layoff, Hazard would be somewhere around it, it just magnetised to his right boot. If we can get that with João Pedro and Cole Palmer, and on last night's evidence, the assist, that little layoff, his running off the ball, I thought was fantastic. But how good can he be? Well,
he scored 3 goals in 2.5 games, or just
2 and a bit.
2 and a bit games, right? He's been a great acquisition. He was on the beach 3 weeks ago. Now he's a world champion. But there's partnerships all over the pitch that you're looking for. Cole's one of those players. He'll need to have a partnership with Lavia, because Lavia's one of those that will get his head up, turn. Who's he going to look for if Cole's playing? His first pass should be, I think, can I find Cole Palmer? If that pass isn't on, then the ball goes out on the left. Can Pedro Neto find wherever the ball is? So Cole's looking for partnerships for me all over the pitch. But in terms of that final third, the link up between the 10 and the 9, if you get that right, then you've got a really formidable partnership.
How good can he be this season then, João Pedro? What can he do to change Chelsea's
We've lacked that number. We've lacked that kind of striker. He's given us something different. When he came off the bench in the quarterfinals, it was only half hour. It was a bit of a cameo. Best player on the pitch. Yeah. He offered. There was an energy about him. There was movement. His hold-up play. He'll have to still get used to the players. I saw a tweet. I said to you boys, he scored 3 goals. He's world champion. He's not been to Cobham yet, right? So this is a lad that hasn't even been to Cobham and worked under Maresca how they play. Early signs, very good, very good.
Chelsea have also got another option up top, another summer acquisition in Liam Delap that I think every Chelsea fan got very excited about. Came in, took the number 9 shirt, said all the right things as well when they're talking about the 9 shirt and the nonsense about there being a curse or whatever. He'll drop that off. When he come on last night, made a really good impact on the game. How's he going to be feeling though? Because I think we all thought Chelsea are going to start next season with him as the 9, with the 9 on his back, and it was going to be that going forward. But now, all of a sudden, in the space of 2.5 weeks, he's a world champion, granted, but he's got a little bit more competition.
Yeah, I mean, we can all dress it up as much as we want, saying that, we need competition for places. When Liam Delap would have signed for Chelsea, there's no way that he would have thought they're going to go and sign another person in his position.
How did you feel when that happened in your career?
Listen, I think it's part and parcel of the game. And in fairness, when you go to a big club, anything can happen week to week, especially at our club of late. But listen, there's an element of, listen, that's part and parcel when you go to a big club. And I think it was great business for us to go and get Liam for such small money, I think. He obviously has a lot of potential, performed well in the Premier League last year in a struggling team. But I think, listen, he's going to be feeling slightly but there's going to be a feeling. He didn't look like it when he came on. He done great when he came on last night. And I've got a lot of time for Liam Delap. He was at Derby when me and Frank first went there, before they moved him on to Man City's academy. He's obviously a talented boy, got a bit about him, got character. But the only thing that I would say is that all these early signs from Liam, from João Pedro, we need to hold off with the superlatives, if you want, at the moment, because we need to judge them when we're playing against teams that are not coming out from the back, because that's where we've had problems, I think, throughout the season. Now, don't get me wrong, do I think we're better with them two at the football club? Absolutely, I think we've improved in that area, but our biggest problems are going to come against teams that park the bus and we have to break them down. And when there's less, these players have performed, Liam's performed at Ipswich where there's plenty of room, teams think they're going to beat him. João Pedro's played for Brighton, it's not quite the same as playing for Chelsea. It's a totally different feel, and you'll see that a lot more in the Premier League than you will in this tournament. So at the moment, I think they've both made great starts, impressed hugely, and us as fans should be rightly excited about what we've got with these two. But the real test will come when teams are parking the bus against us and they need to find room. And is there enough spaces and room and chances for them to be created where they can score as many goals that we're hoping for?
If you don't want people to get carried away, Jody, you're in the wrong company, mate, because I am already. I think both of them look mustard, like genuinely.
And do you know what? There's a lot of games next season. You know, there's the Champions League. Last season, we could afford to have 2 teams, right? The Conference League is 1 team, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, we even call it early rounds, right? And the Premier League. There were 2 teams, essentially. Yeah. Next season, you can't do that. You cannot have that, because you've got to go full tilt in the Champions League, pretty much every single game. There'll be 1 or 2 maybe where he'll shuffle his pack. There will be chances. When those chances come, you've got to take it. João Pedro, in fact, both of them, they've taken the chances when they played. Jackson's got an issue, right? Because Jackson last season, I felt the club let him down a little bit by not having genuine competition. He knew whatever happened, and the manager knew, we all knew, he's going to start because he has to start. There's no number 1, number 9. He's the only one. Now, the rules have changed. Now we've got Champions League football. You've got to put out your best side for whoever you're playing against. And the games are going to come thick and fast. You wait. Big games. We're not playing Ludogorets. We're not playing, Beer Garden. We're going to be playing... We're not. We're playing against big teams, and you've got to go full tilt. And that's Arsenal. We've seen Newcastle struggle, Villa struggle, but having that challenge of going Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, whatever it might be. And this squad, everyone's going to have to lean on everyone. And those 2 boys, those 3 boys up top, they'll be given chances when it comes. I can see Pedro. Pedro's not a number 9. They're 2 very different players, can play a similar role, but different. There'll be 1 game where Delap goes in there and 1 game where Pedro goes in. Take your chance when it comes.
There was a little murmur beforehand where, because João Pedro played not a huge amount of football, but he played a little bit as a number 10 at Brighton with Danny Welbeck when Danny Welbeck would play as a sort of 9. Is there a world that they can coexist? Are there games that you envisage Liam Delap and João Pedro starting?
I'm sure there'll be... whether you start games like that, I'm not sure, but there most definitely will be times when substitutions are made and the 2 of them will be on the pitch. I think the fact that you've got Pedro that is a little bit more versatile, I think. And I mean, he even played as a defensive midfielder when he was coming through was it Flemons? I think he was. But I think you see that in how he works off the ball and how much he wants to help the team defensively. But listen, we need competition. Jace is right. And in fairness, I know he's touched on he felt Jackson never had competition. Well, Jackson should have maybe made the most of that without having that competition, because now we've gone and signed 2 players in his position. So, but as I said earlier, that's what happens at a big club. And if you want to push on and get to the next level, we do need to be making improvements in areas. And I think that's an area that was calling for it. And fair play to the owners and the manager for identifying these 2 players. Great bits of business, I think, on both of them. And let's see where it goes.
As an overarching conversation as well about the squad size that always gets thrown from everybody about how many players Chelsea have got, how many players Chelsea need to move on. You've both discussed at length the competitions that Chelsea are going to be in next season, the amount of games that are going to be coming, the fact we're going to have a really truncated pre-season as well. I think Enzo Maresca said the boys are going to have 3 weeks off and then it'll be like 10 days before Crystal Palace in the first Premier League game. So this season, the first 8 weeks are going to be quite telling, but there's still going to be quite a few players that are going to move on. Is there anyone you feel needs to move on now for their own?
There's lots. I mean, Sterling. I mean, there's players we've forgotten about. You know, there's Sterling. The big earners. Chilwell, is he still at the club?
Yeah, they're training at the moment.
You know, it's one of those you forget how many players we've got. Some will go on loan, and that'll be the right thing for them. Others got to move on permanently. And at a certain stage of your career, you can't be going on loan.
Nicholas Jackson, one of those that falls into that category now, might need to go and play football somewhere.
Well, that has been muted.
Yeah.
There's a conversation I've heard that Chelsea are open to offers on Jackson. So that right now, watch this space. Now that we've come back from the Club World Cup, maybe now some business will start being done. He's got to see. We just spoke about it, right? We've all seen it. He's third choice, right here, right now.
Absolutely.
He's still young as well, right?
Now, he is, but he's third choice, right? But he's one of those players that's played enough games not to accept third choice. He was number 1 last season. Now he's number 3. So on a personal level, he might have to think about, right, I need to play. I'm looking ahead. What does the landscape look for me for the next 12 months? Right.
And also, let's get it right. We've seen some reactions from him being brought off the pitch that have not been the greatest reactions to being substituted when he was number 1. So I can only imagine, and I'm obviously guessing here, I can only imagine what he'd be like around the place when he knows he's number 3 striker. They're the type of conundrums that you get when you bring in big squads and you have a lot of players. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Chelsea are listening for offers.
There's quite a lot of younger players that are coming in as well. Esteval is one that we're all very excited about. Yeah, well, that's what we're
free up spaces. Yeah, I mean, the Mudryk situation was a nuisance. We don't know what's going to happen there.
Jamie Gittins as well.
Sancho coming on loan didn't do enough at all, and I think it was the right decision to not take that loan move up. We've got Gittins coming in. I mean, the wide areas are packed, and they're versatile as well. You know, Neto can play on the left, he can play on the right. There's lots of options.
I like the look of it. If we're talking about the best team in the Premier League last year, Liverpool, they had options higher up the pitch where you could change it. I know we had options last year, but I'm with Jace. There's maybe players that didn't really produce to the level in which we was hoping for. But I'm excited to see Esteval. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, we all are, right? I've seen clips of him, right? But, you know, when he's up against Dan Burn, right? And, you know, I think we just need to go... I mean, Andre Santos, right? Yeah. Everyone's telling... He's come in and I'm like, right, you look like you're ready, mate. I'm looking at Esteval. There's a slight thing. I don't know how much time he's going to take to adjust. Hopefully I'm wrong and he hits the ground and comes in, but I just wonder with the Premier League, the physicality, the pace of it, we will see. I mean, Cucurella tried to boot him all over the pitch, didn't he?
Good start, though, isn't it?
Well, welcome to Chelsea.
Yeah. Let's talk about Noni Madueke, because it looks like his move to Arsenal is going to be finalised in the next coming time. Maybe even by the time we finish recording this, it'll be confirmed. But obviously wasn't involved in the matchday squad last night, had been given permission to go and speak to Arsenal. Noni, I think, on his day was... I mean, the Wolves game where he scores a hat-trick looks like the best player in the league. He is eventually worked his way into the England squad as a starter. I thought he was impressive for England the last international break as well. Good second half to the season. Do you think Chelsea fans will be sad to see him go? Because I don't think we've seen the best out of Noni Madueke yet. I think he's still a young player that we're going to see a little bit more from. And
I think you kind of touched on it there, Joe. I think he's still young and could be maybe one of those players that goes and does a few bits. But I do think he's one of the players that you see him produce for maybe 1 or 2 games and then goes missing for 4 or 5. I think he was a little bit inconsistent. I know you can get that with wingers, especially when they're young. But I think it's, at the moment, it looks like, I think, decent business by Chelsea. I think they've got a decent profit on him. Is he going to be in and around it as much as he'd probably hope for? I think there's the saying it would be that the fact that he wants to go to an Arsenal, leaving a club like Chelsea to an Arsenal, will tell you that he's probably been told that you might not be playing as much as you'd hope for. I think that he's another one that there were moments, I think, during the season where I think some of the body language and stuff like that was being given out showed that he wasn't 100% happy himself. Did he have moments where he produced and played well for us? I thought, yeah, and I agree with you, Joe. I thought for England he was very good. So there's a player in there, and it just might suit both parties.
I'm kind of, there's a bit, part of me a bit disappointed because last season he solved a problem on our left. Sancho wasn't good enough. You know, the Mudryk situation, we know. Pedro out there. Pedro's better on the right for me. He can do a job on the left. But Noni solved a bit of a problem out there. And actually, towards the end of the last season, he played a lot of minutes. And one of the reasons we got top 4 was because that balance, he solved that issue. He's versatile, and I think that's why Arsenal have gone for him. They cover up for Saka, Martinelli. I mean, he'll give Martinelli a run for his money, by the way.
There's a bit of a change as well, isn't there? Because 3 or 4 years ago, you almost had to have the opposite foot to the flank you're playing on. It was all about a player like Saka, and like Madueke when he came in, he was playing on the right-hand side. To play on the left and gives you that natural balance. That looks like really where he's going to go. He's not going to dislodge Bukayo Saka.
No, he's covered, though. They picked up injury. We just spoke about the rigours of a season. You know, FA Cup, League Cup, you know, and then the Champions League kicks in. They missed Bukayo Saka for 2.5
struggled
months?
with that, didn't they?
And he will give real cover on both sides. I get the signing from Arsenal's point of view.
Yeah, I do. I see
totally
it from
get
Arsenal. I see it from their point of view.
Especially because that leads us on to the next thing we're going to talk about, which is mentality, right? Which is what Arsenal seem to be trying to do, is keep buying Chelsea players that have won things and, you know, learn how to do it. Little bit of inside knowledge. Levi Colwill said a really interesting point, actually, before post-match yesterday on DAZN, which is, we never forget that we're Chelsea, and no matter who we're playing against, we plan to win. We press the life out of them, and this is what everyone is saying the best team in the world is. But like I said, we're Chelsea. Adds to what Reece James said before the game, which is, we're going to win this game. It feels like now there's a little bit of a swagger about Chelsea. Is that something that's returning? Is that something that the culture of Chelsea has always been? Has there been a little bit of a lacking of that the last few years, and we've not been in those big competitions and big games? What do you think?
Well, I think because there's been such a huge turnaround of players, a lot of the players are not used to winning anything at Chelsea. Now, obviously, we're talking about the last 6-7 weeks or so. That's changed for this particular group of players. And I know I've touched on it before. For me, the Conference League, I don't really base anything off that competition, apart from the fact that it's good for these players to win something, good for the manager to win something, again, off the back of his successful season with Leicester. But this competition gives, for me, a different feel. Is that I don't think us as fans, listen, us as fans will always brag about winning every trophy, and they'll be singing songs in pubs, and all my mates are doing the exact same. But when you go to the Club World Cup, I think it gives the players a different type of confidence, because they're not used to playing this calibre of, like when Jace was touching on going, you can't ease up like we did last year. We got to the final without even playing our main team. We gave minutes. The best thing for me, for that tournament last year, was giving minutes to young players. Now, when you're talking about winning Club World Cups and these players playing against some of the best teams in the world, that's a different kettle of fish, and it also gives the confidence for going into next year's Champions League. Now, I know Reece said it before the game, so he deserves credit, but Reece has won big things on the big stage already. But Levi saying it after the game is all well and good, but I think it's good that they take these moments and try and build on the positivity and the confidence, because for us, again, I keep saying it, for us to want to get to the next level, you need a bit of arrogance and you need a bit of confidence. And I think without getting carried away with it, but making sure that we harness it and kind of use it in the right way going forward. I think this competition has been an absolute blessing for us, opposed to the Conference League one.
Joe's not having the Conference League.
Nah, I can't have
At
that.
any price. He's been consistent, fair.
Yeah. But as much as I was against it, well, not against, but again, I wouldn't shout about the Conference League. I'll be shouting from the rooftops about this competition and in the manner in which we won it.
Yeah, that's true.
And there is an element, isn't there? Like I know we're going to try and not get carried away, because this isn't the Terry Lampard Czech spine team that we saw. That as soon as they line up in the tunnel, you look at and you think there's a bit of an aura about them, and they've beaten teams before they've even walked out. Before Liquidators hit play, they've already got 3 points, sort of thing. But it does feel a little bit like this team is growing into a little bit of a confidence, a little bit of a swagger about them. And this is a young group that are all similar sort of ages. I think, the oldest player in the group is Tosin, and he's mid to late 20s. So you've got a group now that are growing into it. Now, on the back of 2 triumphs in the last 6 months.
The way that the new owners have gone about this, right? The first 3 players they bought, Koulibaly, they bought Sterling, and they bought the boy from up front used to play for Arsenal, Dortmund. Aubameyang, right? Those 3 signings, ready-made players for the Premier League, right? Then you look at the transfer policy, completely shifted. We've gone young potential, buying young players, long contracts, low wages, and we're going to bring out the potential in these players, hopefully. You fast forward 2 years now to where we are. We won the Conference League. I know Jody ain't going to have a bar of it, right? And I get it and understand it. But if that's your first trophy as a young player, right, you're going to remember that one, right? Now we've won the Club World Cup. We've got Champions League football next season. So in answer to your question, this team, this football club, is moving in the right direction. At what rate and at what pace, we don't quite know yet. Everyone tells me, spent billions, you should win it. We're not buying ready-made players. We're not buying Van Dijks. We're not buying Salahs. We're buying players that are coming through that have potential. It's about realising it. Casado, 100 million. People don't mention his price tag anymore. Enzo, people don't mention his price tag anymore, right? Because these boys now are performing at a level. Casado he's ridiculous, right? He's a ridiculous player. 100 million worth every penny.
It's a bargain.
But let's see where this squad goes. There'll be some comings and goings. There's no doubt about that. But right now, if there is a path and you want to kind of predict where we're going to be, we're on the right path.
We're on the trajectory.
We're on the right path now.
And Jace is right when we're talking, and well, I know you mentioned it, Joe, about the previous players when you're talking about your Czechs, your Lampards and Terrys. Now, let's go back to when you had your Lampard and Terrys that were playing for Claudio Ranieri, say, before we got Jose in. Now, I remember I was at Leeds at the time, and I remember being on the phone both to JT and Lamps when we signed Peter Cech, and I'm going, what on earth is going on at that club? Carlo Cudicini is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. He's just been in the team of the year. What are you doing? And they both came back after pre-season and went, no, I know what you're saying, but this fella's another level up. So, when you're going up, when you're a top club and you want to aim and reach for the stars and get to higher levels, those tough decisions or those moments need to happen. So when we're saying, OK, upstairs, Sanchez has had a great game last night and all that, those little moments where you go, you improve in certain areas where you think you might be all right, but you go up to another level, just can be that little difference sometimes to get you over. You go and get a Drogba or something. Like, do you know what I mean? We've gone and got a João Pedro. Like, we've got Reece Jameses that have been there, Caicedos that have been there, like, that I think are genuine world-class players on their day. But if you had little bits in certain areas that can be the right ingredients to just take you to that different level where you start talking about, can we challenge the likes of Liverpool, Cities and Arsenals in the Premier Leagues? And you never know, there's still a nice little few weeks to go with an extra bit of money in the pockets.
Well,
can you imagine, right? So this squad of players we've got right now, right? Are where we thought we'd be? Are we above? I kind of feel as though we're above where I thought we'd be this time last year, right?
100%.
OK, so where might this squad be?
I don't agree with being above as far as I do after last night. You'd say that surprised me more than anything.
Did you think we'd get top four? I thought top four was the best we'd get.
I thought top 6 last season I'd have taken.
Lads, this does annoy me a little bit when people talk about it was an absolute complete mess when we started this season. The last 10 games of the season last year, under Pochettino, we was the second best team in the Premier League. That's 25% of the season. That's a quarter of the season. How can we be a mess when we're the second best team in the league for the last 10 games.
But that upheaval in the summer is surely part of that argument.
No, yeah, with Enzo coming in, with the manager being new.
Yeah.
But I still thought, hold on a minute, we should still be top 4. I'm not buying, what an amazing feat to get top 4. We should have got top 4 with the squad of players that we got, I feel.
So I think that's the best we could have got.
No, I agree with that.
We weren't going to finish third. I couldn't.
No.
So 4th is the best we
We
could
could
get.
have gone top for Everton before Christmas, remember?
Right, OK, but...
Yeah, exactly. We're second in the league. Could have
gone top. Could have gone top.
And we fell off a little bit. But that's where the manager and the players deserve credit as well, because when we did go through a bad spell, we rode it out and then came good towards the end of the season. So as far as qualifying for the Champions League, that's where we should be. Last night I think could be a momentum shifter where you build confidence, you get more money in the pockets where you go, can we actually then add in a couple of areas where we go, let's actually push a little bit. There's nothing wrong with being ahead of schedule. Do you know what I mean? And listen, whether we challenge seriously next year, like say the likes of Arsenal have done the last 2 or 3 years, can we get to that level? Who knows? But we definitely should be looking to improve on where we was last year.
Can we?
I think we can. Last night showed it. The back end of this season has shown that. I think 3 defeats in 21 games. One was at Newcastle, one was against Flemons. Both those games down to 10 men.
Yeah.
I think this is... the expectations, what do I expect for next season? Minimum top 4, right? Domestic, can we get... I thought last season we were disappointed in both domestic cups.
Yeah.
We limped out of both of those. Won the Conference League. I know Jody's not going to have it, but we had to go and win it. We had to go and win it, and we still won it. So next season, the expectancy level, and rightly so, can you challenge in and around the top 2, top 3? Can you be a consistent force? Because even though we're going to go top up if we're beating Everton, the next game after that was Boxing Day. We lost home 2-1 to Fulham, and our season collapsed. Right? We didn't win an away game from when Spurs at the beginning of December till Forest, last game of the season. 1 away win in that period.
Wow.
Can we improve on that? They're the little things. So you imagine picking up another half a dozen more points in that time. We finished second. And that's what we're capable of. Are we better than Liverpool? No. Can we challenge them? I'd like to think we have to make a go. Really like to think we have. And look, this is a young team. We're only going to get better.
Yeah.
They're only going to get better. Who knows what Salah's going to do next season? Obviously, he's a wonderful footballer. He's 33, right? Can't keep doing it. He can't keep being Salah. He can't. But these young players, Pedro, what he got under the bonnet? Delap, what he got under the bonnet? Pedro, Neto, that is. These young players, they're going in that direction, right? That all of us, because they're so young, but with that there comes frailties. We are, our discipline, got to sort that out. We had the most bookings last season in the league. That cannot continue. We had 4 suspensions in the Club World Cup. 4. That's something that can change our season. But,
Fight and design.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited about this young squad. So excited.
May 30th, book your flights to Hungary. We're winning the Champions League. That is it for another special episode of Inside Chelsea, World Champions Edition, of course. Thank you very much for your company. Thanks to Jason. Thanks to Jody. We've won it all. Up the Chelsea.
Up the Chelsea.